Hi, this is Mark from the present. I currently have COVID and I'm not cooking today. This episode was originally recorded in October of 2022 and was cut because it seemed like it would be a big pain in the butt to make Jerkins edit it. I made a lot of mistakes. We'll see how many of those stay in. That'll be fun. If you like it, let me know. I have a few more failure tapes. So roll that beautiful bean footage.
Welcome to the Totally Honest Cooking Show. My name is Mark. Today we are doing upside down apple pie, a recipe I originally got from Nick Stellino on PBS. And his recipe for the show is so simple that you can do it with half a stick of butter, 6 apples, a cup of sugar, and I think in one of the online versions I saw lemon juice. I'm going to amp it up a little bit with salt, nutmeg, cinnamon, and allspice. The pie crust comes from store-bought puff pastry. Now the first thing we're going to do before we roll out our puff pastry is to preheat our oven to 400 degrees. It's going now. And now we're going to just roll our puff pastry out. Now, you could use a rolling pin. I'm just going to use this cup because the rolling pin is big and takes up a lot of space. And this cup is not and does not. Now, you could use a lightly floured work surface for this. It doesn't appear necessary, so we're not going to. Once we've rolled it out, we're going to go ahead and trim around our pan. Don't feel the need to be perfect. We're just trying to get it so that when we put it on at the end, it's at least somewhat shaped properly. I've done this without doing this in the past, and what just happens is you wind up with bunched up crust, which is not fun. So the extra little step is somewhat helpful. So now we're going to go ahead and peel and core these 6 apples. Whoopsie doodle. That was kind of an accident. 1, 2, 3, 4. What we want to start doing is making our caramel. Caramel. One of those. And we're going to do that by throwing a stick of butter in this pan. You want an oven-proof pan for this recipe. If you don't have one, it won't work. You'll destroy your pan. Again, this is blue carbon steel. Don't try this with a standard cheapo looking non-stick pan. It will not be heat rated to what you want. You want something that's heat rated at least to 400 degrees. I think that one's safe to 500. Not sure. While that's going, I'm going to continue to peel and core my apples. Now there are a couple ways you could do this. You can go in with your potato peeler like I am. You could get a specialty apple corer. I have one around here someplace. I'm not using my apple corer today. I'm just going to take a knife to it. Now we're going to add in our 1 cup of sugar. You're going to want to be careful with this because sugar and heat equal melting. Caramel is just basically sugar that's been heated until it liquefies. So you're going to want to keep it moving. You're going to want to brown it till it breaks down. You're not going to want to touch it. You're not going to want to taste it. You're not going to do anything with it. Candied sugar is very hot and it will burn you. Be cautious. Also notice that I am using a wooden spoon for this application. Wood or metal only. I prefer wood. This way you won't melt the spoon because, again, it gets very hot. See how quickly, though, you do start to see bits breaking down, cooking up. And this is a fairly low heat setting for this stove just because I want to have some time to peel and core the apples. Okay, I've turned the heat down a little bit so that it doesn't, burn while I'm slicing my apples. Now the original Nick Stellino recipe says that we're going for eighths for these. Again, I'm thinking for most grocery store apples, you can probably just get like 4 big Granny Smith apples, because those grocery store apples are freakishly huge. The other reason to use a knife for this is that it makes you just core them by cutting out the core part. With the larger apples, or with the smaller apples, you wind up missing the core a lot if you try to use an apple core. And if I find I need another apple, I'll just throw one in there. Reckless abandon. Totally Honest Cooking Show style, right? Right. Before we add our apples, I'm going to kill the heat because it looks like that caramel in the middle is burning. We're going to add just a little bit of lemon juice. And you're going to try to not be like me and get the seeds in it. But if you do, as with most things, you'll survive. I'm not even going to try to pick them out. I'm just going to let them be in there. Be careful not to cut your finger or your hand off here. I do have at least one viewer that worries about my knife skills and their application in this show. I mean, I like the guy, but every time he gets near an onion, I worry that he's not going to have a hand. You know, fair enough. I bet if I cut my hand off, that'll be the episode that gets the most views. That guy's show is weird, but there's one where he cuts his hand off, so that's good. Once we get the apples in there, our goal is to get as much of that caramel on them as we can. You'll also note that at no point did I actually cut them into eighths. For the most part, it's been half or fourths, and it seems like it's working just fine. Okay, we're gonna lower the heat and let it simmer for like 5-10 minutes, then we're gonna come back to it. Okay, it's been 10 minutes. I'm gonna give it a little stir. Notice how everything's kind of falling apart in the middle, so be careful. These apples bake up really well, but you gotta just remember that whatever their final form is, that's what is going to be on the plate. Okay, into my spice plate, I'm adding half a teaspoon of allspice, teaspoon cinnamon, and about 1/4 teaspoon freshly grated nutmeg. Give them all a little mix around in my little... This probably could have gone on sooner, but that's fine. I was thinking I should have put it in there when the apples were still solid, but I was afraid that it would burn. Now we're returning to our puff pastry, and we're learning why we should have lightly floured the work surface. As you can see, it's totally adhered to our surface. Whoopsie doodle. But that's okay. We'll make it work. all that all that patience. Roll it out. Cut out a little circle. Okay, I rolled out another sheet of puff pastry, so we're just gonna slap it on there. I did use too much flour when I put it on a lightly floured work surface, but that's okay. Notice again that we do have our sides a little bit too big. I'm gonna go ahead and snip off the edges that hang over. It would have been so much better if that first one had worked. But unfortunately, life at times is suffering, and that's okay. I'm just going to give it a little roll, try to get it as round as possible. Now at this point we can stick it in the oven, 400 degrees, for about 15 more minutes. But I think I'm going to give it a light egg wash just because there's all this flour on it. Normally I wouldn't do this, but it just seems necessary given the volume of flour on it. Hopefully I whisked it up enough that we won't have scrambled eggs here. Again, don't really know what I'm doing. This will be an episode regardless. Okay, 15 minutes. See you then. After a 12-minute stint in a 400-degree oven, it's ready to serve. Okay, once you're done, you invert it onto a pie pan. And hopefully, it comes off and it looks relatively okay. So much better when Nick Stellino does that. That's okay. You can barely tell that I whoopsie-doodled it. Also, make sure you have an UV glove or a pot holder. About 2 minutes ago, in the cut that you didn't see, I did whoopsie-doodle my hand in a way that will probably be uncomfortable later. I'm gonna eat this. Nick Stellino recommends serving this with vanilla ice cream. I've got vanilla caramel ice cream. But I'm just going to go ahead and say like, subscribe, click the little bell, and I'll see you next time.